Good morning from Abu Dhabi, where I'm about to head down to do some very exciting shooting with Etihad. This time, I'm here for the A380. They're bringing the A380 back into service. You'll have already seen the video about the inaugural flight, which is happening tonight, because I'm going to post that first. I'll stick a link up top here so you can watch that in case you missed it. But today, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction to the A380 and its return to service, and that is going to happen at the Etihad Engineering hangar. Let's head down there to Etihad Engineering right next to the airport and see what we see down there. Should be a really cool behind the scenes look at Etihad's A380 and how they brought it back into service.
Old terminal at this point. Hangar 4, Hangar 3 where we do the narrow body aircraft. We've got obviously the engine run pan here. The LATAM cargo waiting to go out.
We're headed over to the massive hangar where the third A380 to re-enter service for Etihad is being comprehensively stripped down for its heavy maintenance check after being pulled from storage. This is the 6-year C check that all A380s need to undergo, and since Etihad's fleet had been stored since 2020, they're now due for this maintenance before they can fly passengers again.
And then you've got Hangar 1 here, which is our original hangar. So this is the hangar that's the older hangar on the campus, and we've got 3 wide body positions there. So one is used by Etihad Technical for their A-checks, and then we've got 2 lines of maintenance, 2 additional lines of maintenance in there.
Etihad Engineering does aircraft maintenance work for a variety of airlines, not just Etihad aircraft. As you can see here, that means quite an interesting variety of airplanes are present.
On the left hand side is Hangar 6, which is where we do the 380 maintenance. We've got 3 bays there, Hangar Alpha, Bravo and Charlie, and we are extending this hangar. We're actually building some additional capacity at the moment, so we're building Hangar 6 Delta, and then opposite Hangar 6 Delta will be Hangar 7, and Hangar 7 will be, and we'll drive down to where it is now. So we're going to build more hangars, but we unfortunately then lose a whole load of parking capacity. We also need to expand. So this is Hangar 6 Charlie, and then we're extending the facility, so we're actually building Hangar 6 Delta, which will be another A380 capable hangar based here. And then directly opposite, where they're just putting the retaining wall in at the back, will be Hangar 7, and that will be a double 777 hangar for dedicated to passenger to freight conversions. We've got these LATAM aircraft here that are awaiting finalisation of their C-check, and then new interiors. They were previously Norwegian Air Shuttle aircraft. They've then been taken on lease by LATAM and will go through C-check, paint, and then conversion. Same as this one here.
That one's just earlier in the process.
Yeah. Finished one. We're now just starting. We're about a week and a half or so into the second input. Yes, Gary keeping the technical vehicles looking spick and span. That's our head of line maintenance, washing his own car, which I think is definitely worth getting that on video. I'm going to charge you for extra water, Gary. This is the back end of the hangar, so we've got all our stores are down in this side, all our workshops and component bays, etc. are on the left hand side, engine workshops.
So what does an A380 that's being stripped down more or less to its frame look like inside? Welcome to the Etihad Engineering hangar in Abu Dhabi, right next to the airport itself. Amazing in here. They've got this A380. This is going to be the third A380 to re-enter service for Etihad, and they're just stripping out all the seats, everything. It's the 6-year check that it's undergoing in order for it to be returned to service. They've got one that's ready to fly tonight. You've got a second one that's almost done, that was done out at Heiko. You've got this A380 here being stripped out completely, and you've got other aircraft in the hangar as well. Etihad Engineering also does work for other airlines. So down at the other end, there's a Qantas A380 that's doing its 12-year check, which is even more extensive. What a cool space to be in. And I'm told that because the air conditioning ducts are right here, sort of mid-level, if you go above there on one of these platforms, it takes you up to the tail. it immediately turns to about 50 Celsius. It's kind of like 25, 30 right here. It's hot enough as it is. Up there seems to be unbearable, at least in the summer. That's what it's like here. That's what you accept when you come to Abu Dhabi in July. Anyway, super fun to tour around this thing and see it with some of its panels removed, with all the engine cowlings open, in a state that I've never quite seen an A380 before. And it will be really fascinating to get on board a standard, normal, passenger configured, ready to fly A380 tonight for comparison.
So basically each bay is the same size. These crane systems that you can see moving along here, that effectively covers the whole hangar. So we can cover any spot on the hangar floor using the crane system above for inspections. You can have two wide bodies with a narrow body in the middle. So the fact that our hangars are built without any columns in the door frame gives us that flexibility to put different combinations of aircraft in at different times. Everything comes out of the inside of the aircraft. It'll come out, it'll be stored here, put into the racks, and then either taken into the back shops to be refurbished, or labelled, wrapped, put to one side to then get fitted back in. Paying for it regardless.
This is such a wildly different experience to stepping on board an A380 with all seats and cabin fittings installed.
In the Etihad config, it's basically all economy, lower deck, and then you've got residence first and business upstairs. Right. So residence is still in place at the moment, but will be coming out. More space in this, obviously. We're up on the upper deck, so we now take all the components and all the seats out of the back onto the lift, and then it's a hydraulic lift to get them downstairs onto the ground floor. Wow. Give it 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days. This up here will be the same as downstairs.
Wow.
It'll be basically stripped to the floorboards.
And do the people who are now working on stripping this need very specialized knowledge in terms of making sure that everything, you know, is preserved as it should be?
Yeah, I mean, we have a dedicated cabin team. So, how are you guys? Okay. Yes. So we have a dedicated cabin team. So they are, you would say that you've got, you know, airframe structure specialists, you've got avionics specialists, you've then got people who are dedicated, specialised in the cabin, so they are just more used to the dismantling and then reinstalling of these furnishings. Now obviously the problem is every aircraft or every airline has a different interior setup, so that's all different. So it's a different manufacturer, so different galleys by different manufacturers, different seats by different manufacturers, they all come apart differently, which is why we do tend to have these guys who they know what they're doing, because they do it. That's what their job is, basically taking everything out, putting it all back in. It's not quite as easy as an IKEA kit. We've got over 2,000 staff within Etihad Engineering, but I think we're just over about 950 actually deployed on the hangar floor, but all full-time staff.
Wait. Okay. Amal, roll that carpet for a while.
Ceiling panels, all the sidewall panels are out, so they'll be checking all the linings, replacing any water damaged cut lining there, inspecting all of these wiring looms, making sure everything's functioning properly, cleaning out all of the ducting. So all that stuff is basically, this is the only time when you can do it, is these heavy checks, because it takes so long to take things out and put it back in again.
Yeah.
So effectively this aircraft will be stripped right down, and then rebuilt from the bottom up again.
What is the time frame from beginning to end for each
So
aircraft?
time frame from beginning to end is anywhere, depending on findings, obviously, and that's part of the criticality of what we do. It's planned for anything from between about 68 to 72 days. Could extend slightly beyond that depending on what we find and what we have to replace, and then availability of components, availability of materials. From an Etihad product point of view, the product stays the same. It's well known, it's liked by the people who use it, passengers, etc. So it's basically being reinstalled. It'll be taken out and reinstalled as it is. There'll be new seat covers, new seat foams, the Tedlars and the monuments, the toilets, etc. will be refreshed, but it's not a change of product. So it's the same product that people will have flown on before, but obviously just in a new condition.
A year ago we started the feasibility. Obviously we started to see yield and passengers pick up, and when we previously retired 10 aircraft to Europe, where we put them into parking. So effectively deciding to bring aircraft back is a lengthy process. First thing we need to do is restore the maintenance back to its current part of its cycle, its maintenance program, and that involved a certain amount of work, taking the aircraft out of parking, working very closely with Airbus to determine what is the minimum work scope we can do in those part locations to be able to fly the aircraft here, so its heavy maintenance were here in Abu Dhabi or in China, where the second one's happening in parallel, to do its full 6-year heavy maintenance check, which is approximately at 20,000 man hours of maintenance. Obviously an aircraft which has been stripped down to this degree to be ensure that everything's working, and we do function tests on the ground, so it basically goes on to jacks, we will swing the landing gears, we will simulate the aircraft as if it was in sky in the hangar itself. But on top of that we do a test flight. It's not like an airworthiness test flight, but ultimately it's a shakedown flight to make sure that everything is working. Once we've done that, and we've done that on the first 2 aircraft so far, we're able to submit our application to the regulator, which in the UAE is the GCA, and they issue a certificate of airworthiness. So we can demonstrate all the maintenance has happened, all the tests have happened with no issues. We're now ready to issue the certificate of airworthiness, where at that point we can fly revenue passengers. I think it's like a really exciting, ultimately the aircraft, everyone loves the big aircraft. The big bird is coming back in the sky, and I think everybody's worked on the aircraft, whether they've been project managing or managing the maintenance program or managing the relationship with the regulator. Everybody's very thrilled and excited about bringing this aircraft back into service. So looking forward to tonight, and I'm sure it'll be successful.
This is the RAT, or Ram Air Turbine. It's designed to deploy in the event of a power failure. The idea is that it spins and generates just enough power for essential systems on board the aircraft.
Some of the slides were actually removed, that we've got a specific emergency equipment workshop, which is again a huge big flat floor, because they stand at one end behind a fence and then rip the cable, boom, and the whole thing shoots out, and then it gets repacked.
Months ago, the decision was to go ahead and bring the aircraft, so we had to really work hard, quick. We had some challenges. The aircraft wasn't, as you said, it required a lot of maintenance required by the engineering department, and we had to work closely with our stakeholders like flight safety and training to establish the manpower that is required with the HR and get the numbers that is required for this operation, which is around 50 pilots and 300 cabin crew, but we had to qualify around 900 cabin crew. Nowadays we're having still a training going on every day. You will see if you look outside in the sky in Abu Dhabi, you will see the 380s flying, and that's we are conducting a 380 pilots training. Everybody asks about the 380, and every time I have a question from the pilots, even from outside, that when the 380 is coming back. It's flying this aircraft as well. It's amazing.
In Abu Dhabi for Flight Radar 24, I'm Gabriel Leigh.